It is our weekly visit with Kyle McCord as we are getting you ready for BC this week, coming off the incredible Syracuse Virginia Tech game. And man, Kyle, you talk about these games and dealing with a loss versus dealing with a win. How do you come down off the emotions of a win like that on Saturday? Because that was a wild ball game.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think dealing with a loss is always tougher, because the next game can't come soon enough. But I think now that it's kind of similar to the win, getting late in the season, knowing that every single game, every single, rep you have in practice, like it all matters. And so now I think, the guys are really starting to realize that. And, I think, like I said, every single game at this point is it kind of determines the outcome of your season. So, we had a good day of practice yesterday, so a solid start to the week. And I know, Coach Fran hasn't been letting us, enjoy that win too much, right back on us, Sunday going into Monday.
All right, it was November 2nd on Saturday. Novembers have not been great around here recently. It's, from the sound of it, Fran talked about that with you guys. To get the first one, how much does that help you guys, erase the past, change the momentum, however you want to phrase it going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this post-game after the game on Saturday, and, I feel like in November, down 21-3 in like the middle of the third quarter, like, I just, teams before might have quit at that point, but there was no quit in the team. Just kept swinging, kept fighting, and then ultimately to kind of will our way to a win. Definitely was not perfect, but to get a November win is huge. And so now it's all about how can you build off of that, just keep that momentum going.
You guys have been in this close late situation like a lot. Is it calming now because you've done it so many times? Yeah. Like, is it just like, all right, we did this, let's just go do it again?
I mean, during like spring ball and then especially fall camp, like every single practice we did a 2-minute drill of some sort, and all different type of scenarios. You got 2 minutes, 58 seconds with 2 timeouts and you're down 4 and you need a touchdown, or, it's 58 seconds and you're down 1, you need a field goal and you got no time. Like, from all ends of the spectrum, there hasn't really been a 2-minute situation that we haven't worked on. And, I think that we're comfortable in those situations, and, we train hard, and I feel like the guys, when it's late in the game, still feel good and still feel ready to go. And, I know obviously LeQuint especially, still running like a madman that late in the game. So, I think that, I think the longer the game goes, we've shown that we're ready to handle it.
All right. Like in theory, overtime, right? By the nature of it, you guys are tied. In theory, it's a crapshoot, right? In theory, you guys have won both here, and it didn't feel like a crapshoot. It felt like you guys showed up and like, we're ready for this. Why are you guys ready to keep going at that point beyond the 60 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I think practice. I mean, we practice hard. Practices are super competitive. We did a 2-minute situation yesterday in practice, and like, you would think there was like $1,000 on the line on both sides of the ball, just the way that we're competing with each other. And so when we get in those situations, it's nothing that we haven't done before. And me going up against our defense every day in practice, like they're good, and they give me a tough look, and so that's really good. It's iron sharpen iron on both sides.
And Marlo Wax is back at practice now. How much tougher has that made it for you guys on offense to deal with that guy again?
I mean, he's during practice, it's not fun going against him because he's like calling our plays out before we run it, and we run a run play and he's stuffing the running back at the line of scrimmage, and it's not fun. But then fast forward to Saturday, I'm happy that we're in the same uniform.
He was outstanding this week. I mean, serious injury, miss half the season, like that can screw with you in 8 million different ways. To see him step back in and be that guy again, what does that show you?
I think to me, obviously playing through some physical pain, like that says a lot about him, 100%. And he's a tough kid, but I think just the way that he stayed engaged when he was out, like he didn't miss a beat in the defense, and I think you can tell that. And obviously, from week 1 to now, our defense has evolved and they've changed, and I think their calls are obviously different, and we're doing different things, and but he stayed engaged the entire time, and still was one of the leaders even though he was out. And now that he's back to 100% physically, didn't skip a beat, and I think obviously that showed on Saturday.
Our weekly visit with Kyle McCord brought to you by Davidson Ford and Davidson Chevy. You mentioned LeQuint, and I'd say his two best games of the season are, it's not coincidentally, right? It's the two games you won in overtime here. It's UNLV and it's this past game. What did LeQuint show you this game? Because, my goodness, he was everywhere the whole 60 minutes.
I mean, he's a little crazy, and I tell him that. I tell him, like, you're a little messed up in the head, but, like, in a good way. He's like, I know. But, I mean, he's a lot of fun to play with. I mean, just super passionate. And when we were down 21-3 after Virginia Tech scored, he came over, he looked at me, he's like, whatever you do, I got your back, like, let's go. And to have a guy like that who just runs his tail off every single time he touches the ball, and pass protection, and I think literally as the game goes on, I think the harder he runs, and it's been a lot of fun, and he's definitely the passion and the energy and the heart of the team.
You guys got the run-pass balance a little more even this week. Like the Pitt game, it was way out of whack, and it's clearly been leading past most of the season. Well, how did you notice that balance what you guys were seeing from the defense as the game went along?
Yeah, I mean, I think that early on, a reason why we were kind of struggling a little bit was we were not being great in the pass game. Whether I was, missing a read here and there, or, missing a throw, or, dropped the ball, like whatever it was, our pass game wasn't as efficient. And I feel like in order to have both sides going, you need to be able to run the ball effectively and then pass the ball effectively. And we really started to establish the run game there in the second half, which I think opened up the pass game for us. And so it was definitely complimentary. And I don't know if I really threw the ball down the field all too much, which is and listen, we won, so I could care less. And I feel like it was just kind of what the defense was giving us, and I think we did a really good job of running the ball. I think that's probably the best we ran the ball all year, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was your least amount of yardage all season, but it's still 280 and 2 touchdowns. It's not like you weren't getting to fling it around out there. It was clear, like we could see it like on TV if you're in the stadium. Like Fran was frustrated late in the first half. Take me to the locker room. What was halftime like compared to other weeks? Like, was that as fired up as Fran's been at halftime with you guys?
Yeah, but I mean, I think we needed it. And when the coaches first came into the locker room at halftime, I know Coach Fran was getting on them. But I think in that moment when there's no coaches there, I think the players were getting on each other a little bit and just challenging each other to play harder. And when the ball comes your way, make the play. And when you have an opportunity to change the game, like you have to step up. And I feel like guys really took that to heart. And then when we were talking to the coaches and talking to Coach Fran, it was really just him challenging us and all year. And from the time I got here in the spring to fall camp to the beginning of the season, like the offense has always been the one that gets us going. And we weren't doing that at all. Obviously only scoring 3 points in the first half, and so he challenged us, and I think we responded. That felt like we ran the ball, like I said, extremely well, and then started to win one-on-one matchups on the outside. Obviously, Justice Ross, for example, catching the ball, breaking a tackle, and running it 50-plus yards for a touchdown. Like those were the type of plays that we needed to have happen. And the guys obviously stepped up. Yeah,
he certainly got you going to the second half. His first 2 touchdowns, his first catch in his Syracuse career was that play, go figure. In a halftime situation like that can happen, and it can be negative, right? Like, if it's not a good locker room, you guys are just getting on each other. Why does it work for you guys?
I feel like all the guys know it's not personal, and when I'm getting on somebody, it's because I want to win, and I know that they're capable of playing better, and I know that we're capable of winning those type of games, and so I think nobody takes it personal, like I'm trying to get after somebody just cause, and I expect them to hold me to the same standard as well, and I know that for some teams isn't always the case, but for us, I think it's important just to be completely honest with each other and what we expect and what we need, and so when situations like that pop up, it's like no panic, and I know that I'm going to do my job for my brother, and I'm going to do my job because I know the defense is relying on us, and so I think when those situations come about throughout the game, it's no panic, it's no stress, and we just go out and do what we've done all year long.
All right, you mentioned Justice, so he's been back for a few games. This is the first game he really featured. You got him the ball 4 times, 2 of them were big touchdowns, including that long one which sparked you. What's it like to have this guy as a weapon, and what does he do to round out the receiving core right now?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of experience, obviously. I think he had like 40-something catches last year for 700, 800 yards at Colorado State. And then transferred over, obviously wasn't 100% physically. And, I mean, when he's ready to go physically, which, I feel like obviously he is, and people saw that. I mean, he's a really good player. He's physical. He runs good routes. He has really good hands. And then he can make plays with the ball in his hand. And both of his touchdowns were catch and running for a touchdown. And I feel like he just adds another element to the receiver room. And his skill set is a little different than Jackson and a little different than Treb and OG and all those guys. And so it's a very diverse skill set in that room, which I think just adds another element to the offense. Yeah,
you mentioned his run after catch. 74 of his 88 yards were after catch. Looking at your team on last game, more than 200 yards after catch by the guy. So that's a very efficient game after that. All right, last thing, Kyle. BC this week. What do you expect out of this one?
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be a physical game. It's gonna be two really competitive teams going after it, and obviously they're well coached. Got a lot of experience in that coaching staff, being in the NFL for a while, and so we're gonna have our hands full. It's gonna be a good environment too up there. A noon kickoff, so getting up and getting after it right away. And a November game in the ACC with a lot on the line. So you can't draw it up much better than that.
All right, Kyle. Looking forward to it. Good luck this week.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, our weekly visit with Kyle McCord brought to you by our friends at Davidson Ford of Clay and Davidson Chevy.